We are going to be making our very own advent calendar. The advent calendar that I'm going to use this time is called the Scandi 2023 Advent Calendar. It's a red panel and it comes just a little bag. And I'm going to just pull it out for you so you can get a good look at it. So it's a panel. It costs around, looks like it was $8.45, at least from the place that I got it from. So it has a little Scandinavian design on it. And it's just really cute. The thing that I really liked about this, it comes together really fast, is when you come down, you'll see right here, it says the word fold. And this is what you really want to look for your advent calendar panel, is find one that has the word fold on it, because it's going to make it so you can make it within about 45 minutes to an hour tops, if you are an experienced seamstress. Or so if you are new, it might take, well, depends, 2 to 3 hours. I don't know. It's different for each person, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to iron out all of the wrinkles that came when it was in the package. So we will iron those out, because then we're going to put different fold lines in it where it says to put fold lines. We don't want to get all confused with the original fold lines that came because it was folded in the package. So get those all out, and then we'll start fresh. Okay, so once you have it on the fold line, you've brought it to the top, and then you're taking your pins and you're pinning it in. So you can actually pin right where the pocket opening is going to be. Is where we're going to be sewing. Is we're going to be sewing between the pockets. So you can see this red line right here. I will actually be sewing right in the middle of this red line all the way down once all of them are pinned. This line that's at the top is going to be my fold line. I'm trying to make it so that it won't be seen when it's sewn. If it's seen, that's fine, but try not to let the white on the other side be seen if it is seen. Okay. Once you have that pinned all the way across, I'm going to slide it up and do the next row. So there's 2 different fold lines. There's the fold line here and the fold line down here. We want the second fold line is what we want to do. We want to pick it up, crease it over, and bring it up. Okay, so what that first fold line is showing, it's the fold line for the inside of the pocket right here. So you can see right there that is where the fold line is for the top fold. Okay, and then once again, I'm just pinning it down so that it doesn't shift when we're sewing. And I'm pinning on the pocket, not between the pockets, because we're going to be sewing between the pockets. And the goal is to have it right at the top of the white of the other one, the one that's underneath. So just continue doing that until you get all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so we're going to get that line and then this line. We'll get it all pinned on. And then the next row. Okay, now that is all together, now I'm just going to go and I'm going to press it down just so that it is all pressed. Then we'll go to the sewing machine. Okay, so before we press, we want to make sure that each of the fold lines is laid out properly so that we are pressing it the right way, okay? So we're going to take each layer and lay it out and then line it up, okay? And then we're going to just press it down. Okay, once we have it the way we want it, make sure it's all lined up the way you want it to be sewn. I'm tweaking a few things, as you can see. Just want it to be lined up correctly. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to be sewing down each line. Okay, so I'm going to treat this like a quilt, like I'm quilting, and I'm starting in the very center of my advent calendar, and I've set up my presser foot so that it is straddling both lines, and that way I can keep it even. And I'm going to go all the way down, back stitching at the top and at the bottom, and I'm going to go and do the half, and then I'm going to do the other half. Of course, I'll make sure that my needle is centered also. So, and also I did change my thread. I have red thread to match my fabric. You can notice that I'm not actually cutting it at the top and the bottom. I'm just pulling it over and going to the next row, and I will cut my strings when I'm done. And then we'll just do the same to the other side. So you want to keep this straight along the edge so that you'll have a straight advent calendar. You need to roll this in a little bit, just like you would a quilt. Make sure it's all folded right. It's important to keep it all folded down before you keep sewing. Okay, so now we can trim up these strings. Okay, so before you go on, you want to make sure you check the back, see if you caught any of it. I did catch one little corner that I'm going to unpick and then re-sew this section to make sure that this section actually has a pocket that is open. It's a quick fix. There we go. Okay, so that's unpicked, and then I will just sew that section down again. And those things happen, right? When we're sewing, sometimes we make little mistakes, and that's what our little thread picker is for, right? Just back stitch again before the area starts, and then just sew again over that area. And then we'll do the last part. Now that all the other is straight, we'll do right along the edge. Once again, as you're going, make sure that you have everything lined up again. one more time, check all of your strings. Trim them up. Okay, once you're all done, go ahead and take all the pins out and trim off all of your edges. Trim your strings. So this is the time, if you want to personalize your advent calendar, then if you have an embroidery machine, then what you can do is you can take it and embroider on it. I embroidered on the last one I made right here. I put the last name of the family that I was giving it to, and I put it right there. So you can do whatever you want. If you want to embroider there. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get a piece of batting that is the same size as the panel, that is the finished panel, and then we're going to get a backing. And the way I finish this is really simple. I finish it in a pillowcase style or a pillow style. So go ahead and measure out your batting, make sure it's the same size as your panel that is sewn, and also your backing, and come back and I'll show you how to finish it. I decided I wanted to personalize this particular advent calendar for my family, and so I decided to put our last name, Cross Family, and I used a large tree to use as the center point of the space that we're going to put the name. And so I'll go ahead and just watch it, finish it out. So when I'm doing small projects, this is when I'll use my extra fabric and my extra batting. I'll piece it together. As you can see, I sewed these two pieces together, and then now I'm just cutting it about 1 inch to 2 inches longer. This is my back side, so it's not really going to be seen. So with my last one that I made, what I did is I made a little pocket to put a dowel in. So I have this dowel, and I'm going to have it be able to go about right here at the top. And so I'm going to take about, I'm going to measure it and see what would be most comfortable to slide it in. So, and this is just eyeballing it, right? So, and then I'm going to measure, so probably about 3 inches, and then I can sew it down on each side, and I'll sew under on the side also, and that way it'll be able to slide in. And I will do that before I sew the sandwich together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut 3 inches off of this before I go any further. I'm going to get a clean cut first, cut off the uneven part, rid of that, and then 2, 3 inches. I really love this ruler. It has grids on the back, and so it doesn't slide like my other ruler would. And I am just loving this. It's called Creative Grids. It's made by Rachel Cross. Who knows, maybe we're related. Okay, so now I'm going to take it to my ironing board. I'm going to iron down 1/4 inch on this side, 1/4 inch on this side, and 1/4 inch on both ends. This one I'm going to do twice, and then sew it and pin it and sew it. one turn and then 2 turns on each end. For this project, I am using my steam. I want crisp edges. Okay, so now we'll take it to the sewing machine, go ahead and sew down both of the ends, and then put it on the top of the fabric and sew it across on the top and the bottom, and leave an opening for the dowel. I'm gonna sew on the edge. Okay, once you have it positioned where you want it, go ahead and sew right along with the edge here and the edge here. So the top and the bottom, and remember to leave the sides open so that you can put the dowel in. Okay, so go ahead and do that and come back. So once you have it pinned, go ahead and turn it on the other side and smooth that one out to make sure that you don't have any wrinkles anywhere. If you do, go ahead and unpin it and adjust it. This is really important so that you don't have any wrinkles in your little advent calendar. I've decided that I'm going to sew with my advent calendar side up so that I can see the lines. So it'll make it easier to get my straight lines. So I'm switching it around right now. You can do whatever is best for you. Make sure all of your pockets are down. Okay. And so I like to go ahead and put 2 pins to show that this is where I'm going to begin sewing, and then also 2 pins over here to show where I need to stop sewing. Okay. For my students, I call this our little racetrack. Okay, so let's go ahead and start sewing. I'm sewing up here on the red. So I'm gonna sew right along the edge of the advent calendar and use this as my guide and follow it all the way around. And then I'm gonna stop and back stitch right here. And then I'm going to trim everything off. Remember, you're gonna cut your corners diagonally when you trim. Okay, let's sew. So on this part, I'm just using regular white thread. This part is not going to be seen. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and just trim 1/4 of an inch around. Now we are all done sewing all the way around it and trimming off the edges. Make sure you cut off the corners. Okay, so now let's go to our opening that we have. And I like sticking my hand in and then grabbing the corners and pushing them in and then pulling them out. Doing the other corners, pulling these out, and then just going all the way to the very end and getting those corners and getting them out too. So and then you're pushing them all the way through, using your hands. And then I use my fingers to help push out the corners on both sides. As you're doing it, you're checking your edges, making sure that everything got sewn good. Oh, so right here, look, you can see that some of my batting is showing right here. So I'm gonna stick that part right back out and resew right on that. I'm gonna check the rest of it around, see if there's anything else that needs to be resewn. So this is an important part of it, to check your project, okay? So I'm going to stick it back in. And you don't have to push the whole entire thing in usually. Usually you can just take that one little piece and pull it out. However, if you feel like you need to pull it all out, then pull it all out and redo it. So anyway, so that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to check it and resew that one section. And when you're resewing a section, make sure you backstitch and then sew and then backstitch at the end so it doesn't come undone. Okay, so I'm going to fix that and then come back to this area. Okay, once you have it all turned out, then we're going to go ahead and press it. Just pushing down and pressing it so it's nice and has a good, so it's all right at the seam coming out. So right at the bottom where we have the opening, we're going to turn that in, and we're going to turn the back in, and then we're going to press it down and press the top down. And just continue pressing it along the edge. Okay, so now we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're just going to, you can either sew this up by hand, just do a whip stitch through here. I think that's what I'm going to do this time, is just do, I'm going to sew this up by hand, and then we will be done. So you're going to take your needle and thread, and I've doubled it and put a knot at the bottom. And then we're just going to take it and we're going to come on the inside. So go totally inside of your hole here and come up, so that way your knot is on the inside of where the hole is, okay? So then to do the sewing, we're just going to grab a little bit with your needle on the inside. You have it folded, right? And then you're going to grab a little bit on this side, and then we'll pull it through. When you do that, it's going to pull them together, okay? So we're just going to do that all the way down. So the next time I'm going to come a little bit further so it's clear over here. So we're going to come a little bit further down on the opposite side. Now if you get some practice in, you can actually, if you have a long enough needle, you can do it back and forth several times. So I'd have 2 on this side and 2 on that side, going back and forth, and then I'm pulling it through. So we're grabbing both sides. And we're just getting the top layer. Don't go all the way through to the front. Okay, I'm coming right to the end now, the end of the opening. When I get to where it is almost the very, very end, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little loop around and then pull my needle through, And then if you take your needle and you hold it down where the thread is coming up, then you can pull it tight and pull it down to the bottom to make sure that the thread goes to the bottom. Okay, so then I have my knot. Then I'm going to poke it down through the last part of the opening, and then I'm going to bring it out past the opening. So the opening, it ended right here. So this is past the opening. So the knot is now inside. The knot is now inside and you can't see the knot. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off, and the knot is inside. Okay, so here we have it. This is our little advent calendar, and it has the place for the dowel on the back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the dowel and I'm going to find some ribbon that I have. I'm going to tie the ribbon on both sides of the dowel. Okay, so if you want to grab your dowel and your ribbon and come back with me. Okay, so with your dowel, you need to decide how long you want it. With one, I had it so it was just barely past it. So just measure how far this is across. Mine is, let's see, measure this right here. So my dowel, my advent calendar is 20 inches wide, and my dowel is, it looks like about 26 inches wide. So like I said, you need to decide what you want on yours. So you just slide it in, your little dowel holder. Okay, so there it's in. And then I have a new package of ribbon. Okay, so then what I'm doing is I'm just tying it on. If you want to do a bow or just tie it, I'm just doing a simple knot. And then I'm stretching it up to see how high I want it to go. So you can just measure it for yourself and giving enough afterwards to tie it on. So then I'm just tying it on right here. And there. So once it's tied on, you can look at them, and if you want the same size, just eyeball it and cut it so it's about the same on both sides. Okay. So here we have it. We've got, it's all done. So thank you so much for joining me today on making your own advent calendar, and I hope you have fun making your own. We'll see you next week on Creating Joy.